Hello, this is my review of the TS100 mini soldering iron in blue. I think it's the latest colour that Banggood have decided to release on this soldering iron. I think you've got like a goldy colour and a black, and then there's some other colour bodies that you can buy as well. But I thought I'd just have a quick run over of what I've got and what I was able to buy for helping others out there. So the soldering iron at the moment is £43.85. It's in UK stock as well. So I ordered it on Thursday and it arrived on Saturday. Missed the postman, obviously, being out for the day, not expecting it, and then picked it up this morning and thought I'd have a little go with it and do a review at the same time as an unboxing. So I've had the iron out already. Just to have a play and make sure it's all running. We've got it, I've got it together and I've soldered. I've got 4 joints in front of me here. That this Draper soldering iron here that I've had for 2 years. It does the job, but it's just not as good as some of the commercial ones. And I've seen reviews of this saying that the commercial one is, the Weller brand power stations. They're soldering irons. This is on par, if not better, slightly quicker for heating up. So let's open the box and have a look. So the box, it comes in a nice little blue box, cellophane wrapped originally, which I've taken off. The instructions on the back, the sticker on the back says the TS100 mini soldering iron in blue. It's a TS100 controller, a soldering tip, safety instructions and a hex key. So we'll slide the box open. It's just a normal slide parcel type box. You've got the instructions on the top, a little bit of embossed branding and the TS100 name. Then inside you've got the instruction manual with the Allen key and a couple of spare screws, which is quite nice for the actual soldering iron itself. Not sure what this little card is. So this is the important safety instructions. Please register. So there's something you need to do to register the soldering iron as well in order to be able to do firmware upgrades. You need to register the soldering iron. So it's something you can do. Some stats on the soldering iron here. At 12 volts it's 17 watts and it will heat up to 300 degrees in 40 seconds. 16 volts is the equivalent to a 30 watt iron, heat up in 20 seconds. A 19 volt power supply is the equivalent to a 40 watt iron, which will heat up in 15 seconds, and then a 24 volt supply will heat up in 65 seconds. 65 watt. 24 volts is 65 watts and will heat up in 11 seconds. So that's pretty useful information in there. I think this is only a 40 watt soldering iron that I've got here, so it does the job, but it's not the best. So we've got 2 versions of the instruction manual by the look of it, by turning the book over. So this side is another language. Looks kind of sort of Greek looking. And then on this side you've got the English version. So it's a 21-page manual with a page for choosing the type of soldering tip that you would want, so which is useful for ordering other soldering tips. I've had a look online and you can get the tips for sort of about £11 to £12 plus shipping. So you've got various bits in here about the firmware upgrade, technical support. Then there's a troubleshooting guide with the information, the build section on how to put the tip and the iron together properly, how to calibrate it, how to automatic calibration, automatic heating up, so you can decide on what temperatures you can have there, what the actual screen does, and just a few bits of information on the book itself, so on the iron itself, sorry. Then you come to the actual iron. So as you see, it comes in a small box. It's literally just the iron body and the soldering tip. I've had a play with it already and had it out, so works quite nicely. You've got this little display, an A button and a B button, a grounding point there, which you don't get the lead with this particular model, so it's something that you'd need to look at getting. Then on this end you've got 2 Allen keys which hold the tip in. The tip then has the 2 conductors for heating the tip and passing the energy through to it, and all that does is that literally just pushes inside into the soldering iron like so, and your soldering irons together. Now what you do have to do is you have to get this Allen key out and just tighten the tip once it's in, just to nip it up and stop it from falling out. So, and that's that done. And then you've got your tip. It takes a DC line power 2.5 and 2.5 5.5 plug. So I ordered a pack of 5 of these when I ordered the iron. These are just little sort of screw tip terminal which you can solder your wire onto, ready to get the iron up and running. I've already made myself a little iron cable, so this was my cable. It's an old microphone cable. I had to feather the cable down, the sheathing of the cable down slightly to be able to get this plug to go on. So I've put the plug on and I've put a couple of layers of heat shrink so that the metal body actually holds onto the plastic body of this one, and then I was able to keep the cable strainer on there as well. Then the other end I've just put a little XT60 and a couple of bits of heat shrink, built it up over different layers to bring the fine cables that are inside this cable from the connector itself onto the actual cable and build it up over a section so that we can power it up. And then over here I've just got myself a HP server power supply that I built. It's two power supplies. One's grounded and one's not grounded, and then I'm able to bridge them and make a 24-volt power supply. So if we just plug them in, and then you've got the iron itself. So as literally there's on the end here there's the jack for it, and then there's a little USB above it. The USB is actually for the firmware updates, and it's also, you can set parameters as well on the iron itself, where what you have is the heat, the start-up temperature, the time that it goes into sleep mode. So I think it's set to about 90 seconds or 60 to 90 seconds at the moment from the factory, but you could set it to like 30 seconds if you wish, which I think would be ideal, because the speed this heats up is phenomenal. I mean, 11 seconds it does heat up in that time. So you push the plug into the back, it powers up, it tells you the version number, which we're on version 2.18. I need to have a look online and see if there's any upgrades for this. And then it asks you just to push the A button to start the soldering iron up. So if I push the A button, you can see it's at 25 degrees and it's heating up very quickly, and it will stop at 300. There we go, and we're at 300 degrees. So if you hold both buttons in for a split second, I can't remember how you do it. It's that, no, that's put it into sleep. Right, if you hold, no, right, let's have a look. That's sleep. There was a minute ago I had to play with it, and I did something with pressing the two buttons, and it put it into the voltage. So on the display I was able to see the voltage. So I've got a power supply which was 24.5 volts. So with this, so we're at 300 degrees, we're going to just drop the solder there, just to show that it's up to temperature. my solders melts at. Take it up a little bit. I normally solder. I must put it into sleep mode again. So there we go. It's heating up again, and as you can see, we're getting the solders actually melting to the tip now quite quickly. So with that, what you can do is you can adjust the temperature. It goes up to 400 degrees, so you just, if you hold the B button down, that will take the temperature up in 10-degree increments up to 400 degrees, which is the maximum. I have read online that you can change this and make it so it goes up to 450 degrees, but as you can see, it's pulled up to 400 degrees in a split second there. And then what we do is we'll take it right down to 220. There we go. Hold the A button and it takes you down to 220. And then what it's doing is it's got a little symbol here, and it will tell you that it's reducing the temperature on the right hand side with the little down arrow, and it's losing its temperature. So if I just give it a little helping hand. So it's heading for 220 degrees, and then when it gets there, we're nearly there, 227. There we go, and it's maintained. It's given another symbol now to maintain that 220 degree heat. So I've got a small lump of 10mm copper cable that I just had lying around, and I was just testing to see how quick the iron held. As soon as you put a splash of solder on the end, I haven't got the temperature up, sorry about that. So we'll take that back up to 320. And there we go, it's up to temperature. So as soon as you touch the soldering iron, I mean this is a piece of 10mm cable here, and I'm feeding solder onto the iron, but the temperature gauge isn't actually dropping. It's just melting what's there, and making a mess of it by the look of it, but I mean that's quite a big ask there for it. Let's try on the end. It's got minimal solder. So we'll feed some solder in, and it's set at 320 and it's maintaining. It's still melting and taking solder in, even though we've got a very large cable and a very small tip. I don't think yeah, no, it's not really taking. It's probably a bit too much to ask for it. The only thing I will mention is that I've seen other videos of people reviewing this soldering iron, and the soldering iron came with a small stand. This kit, it may be that little bit cheaper, but it doesn't seem to have a stand. I've had a look through the box, and there is no extras with it. So you know, you might want to ensure that you buy a separate stand if it's a couple of pounds extra, to ensure that you've got something to rest it on. I mean, I've got my cutting mat here, and when I rest it on there like so, the soldering iron itself doesn't actually touch anything, and it's very, you know, body heavy or body biased, so the tip's going to stay away from the what your mat or your desk or whatever you're soldering on, your bench. So you should be okay, but it would be nice just to have that little extra bit of support. I mean, I've got that water pad there, I've got a foam pad that I'm going to have to use for the moment and keep that soldering station here, but I will probably get a smaller pad for it, because I want to be able to fit it inside my box when I take this boxer out, to either run the soldering iron from this power pack, or run it from a 3 or 4S battery, so that when I'm out in the field, if I need to solder anything, I've got the possibility of doing that. So it's, you know, I think if you hold the two buttons together, there we go, it puts it back into sleep mode, takes it back down. I mean, from what 5 minutes till 20 minutes earlier on, and 5 minutes now, the iron itself, the body's lukewarm, but it's nice. It feels nimble, almost like a pen. You know, you could be a bit more precise with it. It doesn't feel as bulky as this, with the tip being that little bit shorter. If you compare the two, I mean, the soldering iron, the tip is shorter anyway, and the body's shorter than what's there. I've got a bigger connector on the back, but if I had a smaller cable, I reckon you could make that quite a compact little soldering iron. But I'll leave a link down below for the Banggood website and the actual item it is that I've ordered, so that if you wish to buy one, you can find it and buy it yourself. But I mean, I've bought this myself, and you know, there's no sponsorship here, but I just thought I'd give it a review, because it is a very useful soldering iron that seems to be doing its job. So, you know, I'll probably do another review in a week or two when I've done some other bits on it. I've got some connectors I need to solder on and that, and I'll do a review after I've soldered them, and maybe even solder one of them whilst I'm doing the review. So we'll see what happens, see how good the iron actually is. Okay, thank you for watching, and hope you enjoyed the video.